Suzanne Malveaux. Frederica Whitfield is off today. We begin in the Cincinnati Zoo, which reopened today to scores of people after a gorilla was shot and killed in order to save a young boy who slipped into the animal's enclosure. That exhibit remained closed today. Meanwhile, outrage from animal rights activists over the gorilla named Harambe's death. PETA saying the gorilla paid with his life for others' negligence. And more than 4,000 supporters have signed an online petition on change.org calling for the parents of the child to be held accountable. Police have said there is no plan to pursue charges. CNN's Rachel Crane explains how all of this unfolded.
A day of panic and desperation at the Cincinnati Zoo.
We're getting our second run to the Cincinnati Zoo, and this is in a gorilla cage, and a 3-year-old child has fallen into the gorilla cage.
A 4-year-old boy slips into the zoo's gorilla habitat and over a moat wall. Suddenly, Harambe, a 17-year-old, 400-pound gorilla, approaches the boy. His mother watches in horror at what happens next.
Mommy's right here!
The young boy screams. The urgent calls to 911 can be heard on this bystander video. The family tries desperately to keep him calm as Harambe takes him out of sight. Harambe drags the boy around the moat and up a ladder for a total of 10 minutes as the zoo's dangerous animal response team anxiously decides what to do next.
The little boy himself had already been talking about wanting to go in, get in the water, and his mother's like, no, you're not, no, you're not. I don't know if the screaming did it or too many people hanging on the edge, if he thought we were coming in, but then he, pulled the boy down further away from the big group.
Engine 32. Start the police. The gorilla has the child and is dragging him around the pen.
Officials considered the incident so threatening, deciding Harambe must be taken down immediately.
The reason that tranquilizing was not chosen is in an agitated situation, which the male was, it may take quite a while for a tranquilizer to take effect, but certainly at the instant he would be hit, he would have a dramatic response. You don't hit him and he falls over. It would take a few minutes. The child wasn't under attack, but all sorts of things could happen in a situation like that. So he certainly was at risk.
They say their only option, a rifle. Harambe was shot and killed. The child was taken to Cincinnati's Children's Hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
We have rescued the child. Disregard everybody. Children have been notified for a trauma.
It's a sad day all the way around. The right choice was made. It was a difficult choice.
Harambe was a western lowland gorilla, a critically endangered species. The zoo had hoped he would eventually father other gorillas.
We love this zoo. It's very friendly. Everything is beautiful here. But when you see something like that and then you have the disappointment, because what do you say to your grandchildren?
Rachel Crane is joining us now. So, Rachel, the gorilla exhibit, it's temporarily closed, obviously, but the zoo, the Cincinnati Zoo, is open today. I imagine that this is the talk of the zoo, that visitors are still talking about what happened there yesterday. What are they telling you?
Well, Suzanne, it is a holiday weekend, still many people visiting the zoo. CNN had a chance to speak to some of those visitors earlier today, and they said that while yesterday's incident was incredibly frightening, they're still going to the zoo and they're being extra cautious. Take a listen.
It's a horrifying experience for everybody involved, and we feel really bad for the little boy and the family, and also everybody at the zoo too, because that's a terrifying experience for them, and it's hard with little kids because they can't get away from you. And so I think it's just really important to pay attention to where your kids are so that something like this doesn't happen again.
So we've been here 2-3 times already, and at all times I'm with my kids. So if they want to see it, if they can see it, I held them up and show them, not just let them climb. So that's something that, you have to think about when you bring your kids.
Now, Suzanne, it's important to point out that the zoo has been open for 38 years, and this is the first incident of its kind that has ever taken place. And as you mentioned, the zoo is open, but that gorilla exhibit is closed, unclear when it will reopen. Suzanne?
Rachel, thank you so much. I want to bring in Kimberly Ann Perkins O'Connor. She actually filmed the video that you just watched in that piece. And Kimberly, I mean, take us back there. You were there. You had your, I assume it was your iPhone, and you're rolling here and you see what happened. Describe what happened. How did you know that this boy was in trouble?
Well, initially, I was trying to capture a photo of the larger gorilla as he was peeking out of the cave. And while I was sitting very still trying to capture that frame, then all of a sudden you heard the splash. Older gentleman started yelling, "There's a child in there, there's a child," and everyone started screaming. So we just started capturing the video at that point, and I was still taking a still shot at the same time as the larger gorilla was attracted to the screaming, and he just came barreling to the edge of the moat, and then he realized what was going on.
And so you're saying the gorilla actually came over to the crowd that was screaming, over to the child. He was attracted to the noise. What did he initially do when he was with that little boy?
Initially, when he approached the edge of the moat and he was looking down and everybody was screaming, we were trying to calm everybody down and get them to stop. But he disappeared. At a blink of an eye, he suddenly was down in the moat. He came up. Now, I didn't actually capture that part of the video where he knocks the child against the wall into the corner, and then where we start the video is where he's basically got the child in the corner. And we did get everybody calmed down for just a little bit, and then of course people started screaming, yelling. He dragged the child a little further down in the moat, and he stopped him for a little bit, almost looked like he was helping him, you know, pulled his pants up, stood him up. And then all of a sudden, everyone started screaming again, and he pulled him completely out down the other end of the moat. And then the next thing, he brought him up on top of the moat. At that point, I'd actually, someone else was then videoing. I went down to a clearing and could actually see, but I wasn't able to get video at that point. We were searching for him through the bushes, but we couldn't find him after that. I saw him then later, once he was on top of the habitat, dragging the boy, you know, pulling him underneath of him. It was not a good scene. As the fireman had said, he at one point had him between his legs and was hovering over him and wasn't budging.
And did it look like, you said at some point it looked like he was trying to help him or protect him. The last you saw of the gorilla, did it look like he was being aggressive towards him? Did it look like he was trying to protect him from the other gorillas? Could you make out at all what the very last moment was?
Once he pulled him out of the moat and he dragged him up to the top of the habitat where it was all cement, he was being very aggressive. The boy did try to separate himself, and he pulled the boy back in, tucked him underneath, and really wasn't going to let him get away. And then when a security guard was in my peripheral, as I was trying to take another picture, he literally picked the boy up by his calf and dragged him towards another cave to basically get him out of the view of this crowd that hadn't yet dispersed.
And how long did it take for zoo officials to respond? How long did this go on?
The security guy, our video is about 2 minutes. The security guy was already running past me by the time the gorilla had him up at the top of the habitat. So maybe 4 to 5 minutes. The huge rescue, the other two gorillas disappeared right away, the two females. They disappeared right away. So someone else must have been there and had gotten them attracted and gotten them out of the habitat or locked up. The security guard was there. Next thing I saw arriving was other zoo personnel.
Okay.
Then we were able to start getting people to get their children out, get themselves out, and move away to the end of the exhibit.
And Kimberly, finally here, did you or did anybody else actually see or witness the gorilla being shot when authorities shot and killed the gorilla?
No, I think they actually did a good job. Unfortunately, we were just at the end of the exhibit. We were just exiting the exhibit as we were trying to usher people with kids. So my niece and I were the last ones, exiting. And as soon as we heard the shot, we knew that what had happened.
And were you able to see the little boy get out safely?
No. They did a good job of clearing everybody. That whole area was cleared in, I want to say, seconds, it seemed like. And we were pushed north or south of that main strip where it was all happening. You didn't see him being put into the ambulance. They actually did a great job of making sure that whole horrific scene was well protected.
And from your vantage point, were there ways, did it seem like it was an easy thing for a little person, a little child, to slip through into this gorilla exhibit, this enclosure?
Unfortunately, it was a bad situation where a 4-year-old didn't have the attention of his mother for seconds as she turned to some other children that were with her. He had joked, he was a little boy, about going into the water. Her attention was drawn away for seconds, maybe a minute, and then he was up and in before you knew it. I don't think it was as easy as just standing up on wood and falling in. He actually had to climb under something, through some bushes, and then into the moat.
All right, Kimberly Perkins O'Connor, I mean, just your composure is extraordinary. We appreciate what you did in showing us and bringing us this story by capturing that video. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. And on to our next story, Donald Trump.